Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about problem reaction solution and how they can use this to hypnotize on a mass scale. So just to set the groundwork so we understand what hypnosis or hypnotic learning actually is, all that means is that information goes directly into your subconscious mind, becomes immediately part of your belief system and your truth without being questioned, filtered, or discerned. The part of your mind that does analyze, judge things as right or wrong or true, is your critical factor. So the main way that hypnosis occurs is when you're a young child. Why? Because you simply don't have a critical factor before the age of 6 or 8. That's why kids believe that Santa can go to every single house in the same night, right? It's not logical, but they don't have a critical factor, so all information goes directly into the subconscious mind, and they learn everything hypnotically. The second way is that traditional type of hypnosis where somebody's just saying, listen only to the sound of my voice, you're becoming very sleepy and tired, right? That's just lulling the critical factor into a trance or sending it to sleep or take a nap. The third way that we talked about is conversational or covert hypnosis. This is when somebody can be hypnotized and they don't even know it's happening because somebody is using very complex and sophisticated language patterns that take a lot of processing power for your critical factor or your conscious mind to get through all of this confusing language to figure out what you're saying. So while it's occupied trying to figure out and decipher these language patterns, the person can then be on the side sending direct suggestions, embedded suggestions and commands directly into your subconscious mind. And you can't filter it out because you're too confused and using all of your processing power to decipher what they're saying. So today we're going to talk about another type, and that is a shock. When there's a shock or a high fear response, the critical factor simply blinks out for a second or it goes offline. So if you can imagine prehistoric man, he's walking through the jungle and there's a tiger, his critical factor blinks out, which could kind of be a good thing. Maybe his chief just goes, run, and then he just starts running. He doesn't sit there and try to calculate which trajectory he should go in or direction is going to be the best. He simply gets moving in action, okay? Phobias are also created this way. If you go into the closet and a big hairy spider drops down on your head, the fear is so overwhelming that you can, get a phobia of spiders instantaneously. That fear is so overwhelming that that idea of spiders being scary goes directly into the subconscious mind and can stay with you as a phobia for the rest of your life. So how do hypnotists take advantage of this? Well, there's something called an instantaneous induction. You can look this up on YouTube or Google it. And there's a lot of different types of inductions that simply create a shock or even a motion where the person can sort of lose their balance for a second. And during that moment of disequilibrium and shock, the critical factor, as predicted, goes offline for a second or two. And then the command sleep is given, and that goes directly into the subconscious mind. The person goes instantly into a trance. Quite effective, and wow factor is pretty cool. So this is really what's happening when they had the problem reaction solution, okay? They have a problem that's really great. Take 911, of course, is the easiest example to talk about this with. We're completely in shock and overwhelmed that American soil has been attacked. So our critical thinking is suspended in that moment. We don't know what to think. We're in fear and total shock and disbelief. So in that moment, our subconscious mind is completely open to any suggestion that comes next. So when we're told who did this, who's responsible, and what needs to be done to take care of this and to protect us, we simply accept all of that information completely unquestioned. Even if some of it seems a little bit, in retrospect, absurd, like they found the passport of one of the terrorists at the site of the World Trade Center. Really? Okay, maybe. Also, many experts have described the way these buildings fell as typical of a demolition-style implosion. In fact, one of the buildings that fell was not even hit by a plane. And someone was heard quoting, "We pulled it," which is lingo for demolition. So a lot of the fact things don't really add up. And in fact, the first people to question the official story were the firefighters of New York City who were there. They heard explosions going off. They knew that it didn't really add up with the official story. And they created a coalition or a group, Firefighters for 911 Truth. But what do we do when people question the official story? They're labeled conspiracy theorists. They're marginalized as stupid or, suspicious or paranoid. And so once they've been labeled like that, they know that they can count on us to do their job for them. We marginalize them as well, and we don't want to be labeled as crazy or a conspiracy theorist. So we simply go along with the story, because what's our primary concern? To feel safe once again. We want to go back to the way things were. And so in that open state, they tell us who did it and what they're going to do to protect us. And they say, we'll invade whoever we need to invade, we'll attack whoever we need to attack to make sure that you feel safe. And we just gratefully go, oh, okay, thank you. And it may seem it's a little bit far-fetched that mind control could actually happen on this grand of a scale. But if you understand how the mind processes information and you understand how the human psyche works, it's actually quite simple. And you put all of these things together, the shock, we tell you what it means. We control all the information through the hypnosis box in your living room. You can watch that video of mine. And marginalize anybody who would question the actual facts as they observe them. And so it's quite a simple formula for creating mind control on a mass scale. I know we don't like to think that we could be that easily manipulated, and it's not that we're gullible, it's that they are pretty high tech, and they've got this system worked out pretty well. And so how are we going to overcome this? How are we going to avoid being manipulated or led down the primrose path? Well, once again, we have to really come into that heart center, or maybe connect to your higher self, or be in the observer self, because there's a part of you that understands all information. There's a part of you that is discerning, that's all-knowing, has access to all information. And when you're connected to that, you can see through the smoke and mirrors. You can feel the truth. You can discern the truth, not based on whether your emotions of fear or being manipulated. So once again, the answer is getting back into the heart space, your observer self. I mean, think about Tesla. Do you think that his gray matter came up with all of those ideas? No, he was tuned in and tapped into an information field that was higher than our current human understanding. Okay? You can tap into that too. You can be discerning and all-wise too. Because what's the solution that they're giving you to feel better? The solution that they're giving you is, we know this has been very upsetting. Why don't you just get yourself a nice cold beer? And guess what? In a little while, the game's coming on. That'll make you feel better. So then if we're not being discerning and we just go along with, I want to lick my wounds and feel better right this second, we'll go, I do need a beer. The game? I love bread and circuses. And that does work for just a minute. But it's not going to cut through the smoke and mirrors in the end. And it's not going to give you discernment and wisdom. And it's not going to save us when it really comes down to it. So take the time, make the effort to connect to something higher, your all-knowing self. It's worth it. Namaste.